to episode 8 of Connecting Clarkston. We are happy to welcome Brandon Still from Main Street Coworking and Integrated Life Companies, and Kendal Penney from the Clarkston Chamber of Commerce. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We'd like to start by asking our guests what their connection to Clarkston is. And if you want to tell us, Brandon, how you and your family ended up here.
Yeah, we moved here in 2016, and I did not know there was a downtown Clarkston. My wife got a job here with a dental practice, and we ended up moving onto Main Street and absolutely love it.
And you moved from where?
I lived in Grosse Pointe, and my wife lived in Livonia.
How did you guys find, did she find the job here first and then that brought
Yeah,
you here? Okay.
she did, and we were trying to find, I worked in Mount Clemens, so we were trying to find a middle ground, and we really couldn't find anything we liked, so we decided to eliminate one of the commutes. Mallory won that, and we moved to Main Street.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Kendal, what's your connection to Clarkston?
So I grew up on the border of Ortonville and Clarkston. So I graduated from Brandon schools, but I got to experience the best of both worlds where I lived. And from a young age, my parents just took me downtown, so I got to experience a ton of businesses. I had birthday parties at places in downtown. My dentist is in downtown. So after graduating college, I moved right back to Clarkston, where my heart is at.
We're glad you did. And you live in Clarkston now?
So I wish I could say yes, but my husband and I did move up to Grand Blanc during 2020, so we bought a house up there, and I'm ready to be back down here, but it's only 20 minutes away, so I got to learn about a different community north of here.
Ah, fantastic.
And Brandon, you have your business in downtown Clarkston, but what business or where were you working before you moved and started Main Street Coworking?
Yeah, I worked for a consulting company called Fusion Management Partners in Mount Clemens. I'd been there for about 10 years when we moved. And I tried commuting for a while, not a very pleasant commute. And so after we got married and moved and kind of discovered what we wanted our lifestyle to be like, I ended up leaving that position to start out on my own.
And how did the idea for Main Street Coworking come about? Was this right before COVID, during COVID? When did this all happen?
We started Main Street Coworking in 2018. I had been a member of a different co-working space from my old job, and in 2017, when I started my own company, I wanted to be in a co-working space, and I reached out to a few other spaces and said, you know, could we do something in Clarkston? Would you want to? And they all said no. And I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because they were saying, you know, that's not a place for entrepreneurs. It's not a place for small business. There's no demand. And if you want to get me to do something, tell me you can't do it. So it took about 6 months to finally get to the right building. But we got started, and that was kind of the journey to Main Street. And now I've kind of stopped doing the consulting work that launched it all, just to focus on co-working and bringing co-working to other communities like Clarkston.
I have a couple of questions just because I've been following you on Instagram and kind of trying to I think that's how I first found out, and I think Rhonda Vaughn at one point stopped in and offered like a freebie, you know, if you stopped in and mentioned her name, you could try out the co-working space. And so I had done that, and that was probably a year or two ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah, Dr. Rhonda runs the community tabs. And
okay.
Yeah.
So then, now, I know that there's a co-working spot in Pontiac.
Yep.
Is that affiliated with you?
Yeah, so that's ours as well.
Okay.
Different building, different style to it, but the same idea. That one's located in the Riker building, which is more of a traditional office building versus, 21 North Main, which is the old antique shop, which is what most people still call it.
Exactly.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to talk about when you first moved in there, because I mean, we grew up here, and you could, every square inch of that building was packed with stuff. I mean, what was the process like? Did they leave things? Was there little gems that you found and treasures?
They didn't leave anything. It was well cleaned out, but something I think is really cool, when you walk in, you can actually see on the floor where they would have had items and where people could walk. because there's very distinct pathways kind of etched into the floor, which was something that we didn't want to remove, so you can still see it today.
Yeah.
But we inherited a very empty building, and that's been really cool to see the transformation. It's still a work in progress, and will probably continue to change as people's needs and uses change.
Yeah, it's cool to be so flexible. Too.
Yeah, that's one of the big parts of how we design co-working spaces. We call it the modular build. Any given day we can move things around and have it accommodate a different use, events, workshops, music, whatever we need on that day.
I think too, when we stepped in, you were talking about how the library has a space there, and so people can check out that space. Explain how that works.
Yeah, David from the library, who's one of their directors, had an awesome idea to have a dedicated desk in the co-working space that they have one of their workstations at. So you can log into the library system and access all the software that they provide free of charge, all the databases, and you get the desk for the day to work from. Really cool idea that they came up with, and happy to be hosting it.
So if people were interested in taking advantage of that, how do they sign up, or how do they reserve that spot?
You can sign up online, or you can call the library and they can get you signed up.
Okay.
We do encourage a reservation, because if we don't know you're coming and nobody's there, you'll be locked out.
Yeah.
Well, and I know, Kendal, you work a lot with Brandon. I know you guys, have been at events and stuff together. But what was your path to become the new executive director? Saying that right? Of the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, so I've been at the Chamber since July of 2019. So we've had lots of changes. Obviously, with COVID and post-COVID, businesses have had lots of changes. But since I started, we've worked really close with Brandon at Main Street, and I found new business relationships that are out of Main Street, which is a really nice option to have. And then whenever I'm in a bind or we need a possible event location, Brandon's my go-to guy. But it really highlights how you can change up the space if you need it more for an event versus, you said, live music and different things like that. So, and it's right downtown,
Perfect
which is
location.
awesome. Yeah, the parking lot's right there too, so it's convenient. And then we also host a weekly event called Social Circle with Brandon at Main Street, which has been great. We started that last January.
Yeah, January 2022. Coming up on 2 years.
So what is the goal of the Social Circle?
Brandon, do you want to share
here we
that?
go.
I feel like you have a better explanation.
So, actually, I think it came out from some of the member surveys that the Chamber did, and people were saying they wanted a little more education on social media. And I was looking for ways to host more events for prospective members. So we started co-hosting Social Circle every Friday from 10 to 11. And it's really fun. It's a peer-to-peer group. We don't bring in paid educators or speakers, but all different kinds of business owners who have experience with some aspect of social media from running their own business. And we have them talk about it, and then we can ask questions and network. And it's been very helpful, I think, for everybody who comes.
Yeah, very interactive. It's been helpful for our staff, I think, just to learn. Like, we have a new staff member, Kate, who's on our team, and she's been attending, so she's able to learn. But then we also get to connect with everyone, and you can always ask questions. We always say you can come late, you can leave early if you have to, but just come as you are, and we'll
No
talk
pressure.
about, no pressure.
That's really nice. So can you tell us a little bit about the Chamber of Commerce? I mean, I know obviously Brandon's very familiar, he has a business here, but for people who are wondering, maybe they're thinking about starting or have recently started a new business, or maybe an existing one, what is the Chamber, what's their mission, what are they all about?
Yeah, so our mission at the Chamber is to cultivate business relationships in the area. You don't have to be a business in Clarkston. We have plenty of businesses that are in other communities, but their owners might have a connection or might live in town. That's probably our number one frequently asked question. So you don't have to be necessarily in Clarkston, but we have a ton of different business-to-business opportunities, so you can network at different monthly events. We have a couple different networking groups that meet as well. And then our chamber is a little bit different than the average chamber, and we host large community events. which I think is really like our bread and butter. Taste of Clarkston is our, well, no pun intended there, but now that I say bread and butter, but Taste of Clarkston is our largest event, and that gives the community a wonderful day downtown to highlight all of our restaurants, but it's also a great way for the businesses to interact with the community members in a different way than just the average business expo.
So that is not a common thing in other communities?
A little bit, but I would say our chamber really specializes in the community aspect. I think people within the Clarkston area really just want to support local as much as they can. So people are more engaged,
That
I would
was one
say,
thing
in that.
as we were talking about having you come on, as I was thinking, like, do you meet with other chambers and like discuss what's working and what's not? And
Yeah, we're in the Michigan Chamber, so they host a lot of different events that we can network with other chamber directors. And then I actually had coffee with Travis, the director at the Davison Chamber, who's fairly new to his position as well. So we love to host networking, but we like to network with each other too. And it's kind of a common thought process of like, if it works for one chamber, why not copy and paste and see if it'll work for your members. I'm always learning something new that a different chamber is doing, or even just on social media. We've learned a lot just by watching what other chambers are posting and what they're doing. And it might not always work, across the board for every chamber, but we all have that same wanting to support local and connecting, so we all have that in common.
Well, I feel like both of you might have an opinion about or thoughts on how COVID affected businesses, I mean the whole community, but especially the business community, because they were hit really hard. And how did you both, bring our community through it in your own capacities?
So it was really interesting with co-working. As COVID hit, and especially when schools shut down, we did lose a lot of people, and I think the people who were in our space had the more flexible jobs usually, so when somebody had to stay at home, they were going to be the ones. But about a month after the schools closed, we got a big influx of new people who had never worked from home before, and they said, I cannot do it. I can't work from my bedroom, my basement. There's kids, there's dogs. And I get it, that the only time I want to do laundry is when I'm supposed to be working from home. All of a sudden that seems like more fun. So we had a big influx. There was a slight change in how people maybe wanted to use the space. There was a little more demand for private space, not so much shared. And then since things have kind of normalized a little, we've seen a return of some of the people who were with us originally. And some people had to go back to the office, but we've retained a lot of those newer people as well. It seems like a lot of the workforce is going hybrid. They maybe have to go in 2 or 3 days a week, but the rest of the time they can work from home. The other thing that I think is really cool to see is I think more people are realizing they have what it takes to start a business. And whether they're starting it on the side or they've decided to kind of go all in, I'm seeing a lot more people who decided because of the pandemic that they wanted to go out on their own and start something. And I think it's really cool to see that happening.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of creativity was born of
Yeah.
people sitting around, what am I going to do? And that's really a neat byproduct.
Yeah.
Like the business community as a whole, how have you felt they've, come through?
I would agree with what Brandon said. I think we have found a lot more either like mom and pop shops or just local entrepreneurs that are working out of their home. That's our 1 to 4 employees. That rate of membership is by far the largest. But I think we've been able to really connect with our community in that way. I used to get a lot of calls for people interested in potentially joining the chamber, and immediately they, might have spoken a little negative about themselves and not really understanding, their own value in their business. So I think that's been nice to engage with, and we have a lot of moms that will bring their kids to events, and we totally welcome that. We want you there, and if you have to bring your baby, we will all pass the baby around.
The baby.
Yeah, Brandon's boys are frequently at our events too, but
Yeah,
I think that's just, changed. We all don't have to be in blazers for a networking event. You can come as you are and meet people that way, and you can bring your kids, and we've created, a chamber family outside of that, and I think that's been nice since COVID especially.
Does that speak to the whole business community in general? Is there a pretty tight, especially downtown where you are, is there a tight community of business owners in that area?
I think that
Yeah.
there's a great community. Walking up and down Main Street, it's wonderful to be able to go into any of those businesses and, see the owners, chat with the owners, spend time down there. It's really great. And you have, the biggest employer in town, Union Joints. They're working with the library to host trivia nights, and they're giving back. And then you have the smaller places like myself and others that are happy to be a part of such a great downtown. And there's the new Candle Bar downtown that just opened
that's
today.
Super cool.
If you haven't been in there, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
So check that out.
It's beautiful.
I think it's a very special community. I mean, I think of people like Essence on Main who opened up the back alley drive-through during COVID and tried to help people out. And I think people who have a business downtown really appreciate being there and want to be a part of a community.
This is a very random question. Do we know what business has been there the longest?
Ooh.
I
Not to
think
put you
I
on the
know.
spot, and we can cut it out.
think you
But
know? Yeah.
Well,
What's
there
your
was a
guess?
claim.
because
We
that bake shop, weren't we just talking about the Clarkston bake shop? Okay, go ahead.
So,
Sorry.
from my understanding, Clarkston Travel is the longest continuously operating business in downtown.
Okay.
That's a
Through
great
the Main Street Clarkston nonprofit, we recently spoke with as many of the business owners as
Yeah.
we could. And that claim was made. It seemed pretty valid, so.
So,
Okay.
I was talking to my friend the other day, and she was saying when she grew up, so she's got to be 50. As a child, she remembers like snowstorms, and they would walk to the bake shop like in the middle of the night. She was saying it was 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll have to fact check that.
Yeah.
But could you
Wow.
imagine?
That would be amazing.
That's
That'd be awesome.
Like middle of the night cookies.
Yeah,
Yeah, Clarkston
Yeah.
Bake Shop. If you are
Genius
listening,
idea.
if you are listening.
I would have guessed Rudy's, but it's not continuously running now that they're renovating. But that would have been my
Yeah.
guess.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
even think about the travel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll have to look
Yeah.
into that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, obviously they wouldn't make it up. I don't think.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
interesting claim. But and speaking about the historical part of it, now you took over a historical building. So were there challenges about things you could and could not do to renovate and get ready?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we wanted that building was because we didn't want to do too much. We wanted something that was very open concept and easy to adapt. But it is a little bit different anytime you want to think about doing something, wondering, do I go to the HDC? Will they approve this? Should I not go to the HDC? But that's part of what's special about being downtown is that it is a historic area and that we have people who are protecting the historic character. Our house as well, and the historic district was something that was of great appeal to us because we knew, the character of downtown wasn't going to change while we lived here.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of districts, okay, was this the chamber's brilliant idea of a social district? Are you guys part of
So
this?
it was not our
Okay.
idea.
Still a good idea.
It's a great idea, and that was something that has stuck around, and I think will stick around well after COVID. But I believe the city came up with that plan and then went to the state to get it approved. But it's been great. I mean, Taste of Clarkston, people can enjoy food and now a drink or a Bloody Mary out on Main Street, which is nice. And I think it's just something that makes Clarkston special and can, further sell our community. I tell everyone every day how awesome Clarkston is, but the social district, you see that in other small towns, and it works, so.
Yeah.
What is the footprint of that district? Like, for people who don't know what that is, what it
So
encompasses?
our building is right on the north end. It's basically the village commercial district, so I believe it, we're the northern end of it, and then I think it goes down to Walden.
And then just before Depot Park is when it stops in that.
Yeah, it's definitely not allowed in Depot Park.
It is
Yeah.
not.
That's a good point to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
to know.
people call us all the time too for concerts in the park asking that, and
yeah, exactly.
it is not allowed. The chamber cannot have a beer tent out there, but
If they could just expand that a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Ann and I had been talking about a little event we may want to host, which we'll have to Yeah, it's very beginning stages, but it would definitely involve the social district and possibly your building. if
Oh, there we
possible.
go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Well,
My only clue is ghosts,
Yes.
that they're going to be
Oh.
involved.
Yeah.
All right.
Stay tuned. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Well,
teaser.
supposedly, if you're into that thing, our building is a good place to,
Is it?
to
Oh,
do
good.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think there's a few buildings that are.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sure.
with all that history.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I'm a ghost,
Yeah, that's where you're
hang
going.
around
Yeah.
downtown Clarkston too.
The social district is a ton of fun, though. I mean, we watch people who will walk right to the end, kind of look around, then turn back and
Yeah.
walk the rest of the town. And when we do evening events, it's really nice that people can patronize the restaurants and then come down. So I think it's been beneficial to the businesses.
I think it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What about, are there new businesses that have just come online recently that we can talk about, maybe this summer, that we could, check out, that you can tell us about?
Sure. There's been a ton of new businesses joining the chamber, but especially new businesses in the Neiman's Plaza at
that-
Dixie and White Lake.
Yes.
We have a ton of businesses. Actually, last Thursday, we had a ribbon cutting for Stretch Lab, which is a new business that opened up. We had it scheduled for Wednesday, and then we had all those storms, so we postponed a day. But they're a new business. They've been involved in having different events. I know they've been doing some co-branding with some other businesses, and that's something the chamber loves to see when businesses are doing that together. We've actually had 2 members within that plaza that have grown so quickly that they moved to different locations within that plaza. Haley James Exchange and then Baby Love's Consignment Shop. So both of those were in different locations and grew so fast they needed
So we
a
were
new
mentioning
one.
how we do our cocktail of the month, and so the first cocktail of the month was at Bologna's.
Okay.
And Danny Bologna was telling us how, their family has been in that plaza forever. And he said recently this is like the first time that it's been full again. It's had openings for so many years.
I think Baby Love's new space, I think it was vacant for 13 years,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Oh, wow.
So that's just incredible. And when we have ribbon cuttings and we're there to celebrate, we stop in all the other businesses and say, come join us and come out and see this, because I think that's been amazing just to know that you can spend a half day there and then you can pick up groceries on your way home from Neiman's.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How does a business, does a business have to qualify for an official ribbon cutting, or is it any new business? How does that whole process go?
So when I started at the chamber, we primarily focused on just new businesses to celebrate. Since COVID, we kind of had to get a little bit more creative, and some businesses we weren't able to gather during COVID, so they postponed. So we've had more anniversaries. But then recently I discovered that there are a lot of milestones that we want to celebrate with our businesses. So this past, I think, October or November, Morgan & Milzo and Ford Realtors celebrated 30 years in business in downtown. And so we celebrated and brought ribbon and scissors and highlighted that. So any milestone we try and bring. Most people want the giant scissors. That's really what
Sure.
people ask for.
Yeah.
That's very
So
cool.
we do have a regular pair that's gold and very fabulous, but the giant
Giant.
scissors are really where it's at.
And I know we were talking about it for a smidge before we started filming, but Deer Lake Racket Club is celebrating 50 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're headed there today.
We are.
Yeah,
That's-
Ann plays tennis there.
Okay.
Yeah, it would
That's
be a
an
great.
incredible
It
milestone.
is. It's
Yeah.
incredible, and I feel like it'd be a great thing to add to the, maybe not big or little scissors, either or. To do a
Big.
little
Yeah, confetti, ribbon,
something.
you name it.
Yeah, to
But
celebrate.
Brandon and I actually are hopefully hosting an event at Cook's Farm Dairy, and they recently celebrated
Yes.
90 years
Oh my
of just the
goodness.
farm
Yes.
existing. So I'm ready when they are, but they have some new plans coming next year, so we're going to hopefully wait and then celebrate it at
When
once.
that's done. Can you talk anything about the new plans? I know I've heard a couple people say how they're getting ready to, which they expanded, they did a lot of great things. One during COVID, that was an amazing business.
The lines were so long.
It was so
God.
long, but it was
Right.
also very comforting to be well, no matter what happens in the rest of the world,
Yeah.
we have this one little drive-through window where
Well,
we're going to have
and
milk and
ice
beef.
cream.
Their supply chain wasn't really affected. because they bottle it themselves right there.
Yeah.
And same with the ice cream, they are doing that on site, which is really nice. And my parents, I grew up right around the corner from Cook,
Okay.
so you can go get eggs now. They work with another farm too up in Davisburg, I believe, or Davison, but they have really good cottage cheese, and they've gotten new
ranch
products.
dressing. They recently added ranch
really?
dressing.
The
It's
ranch is
insanely
delicious.
delicious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good tip. Okay.
And when you're waiting in line, they have all their signage out too. So I'm like,
You're like,
oh,
oh,
well, I
now
didn't
I
know
need
I was
that.
here for this.
Right.
$70 later.
We got
don't
some
even have to go to the
chocolate
grocery store.
milkshakes too
Yeah.
while we
Yeah.
were there.
Amazing.
But yeah, so they have some big plans, and I know Quentin, their son, who I actually graduated high school with, he's there and helping to take the next generation of farming to our community. But they have some big plans. I'm not sure if we're supposed to share
Okay,
them, but
don't then.
but they did
Okay.
break ground recently
Okay,
behind the pavilion.
exciting.
So and I have heard lots of buzz
cool.
of other people asking about it as well.
Are there events that are coming up that you can talk about that we should be putting on our radar?
Yeah, so the Chamber hosts an annual golf outing every year. So actually this Thursday is the 36th annual golf classic, and that is going to be at Fountains. Brandon is a hole-in-one sponsor, so he'll be out there with hopefully some money to give away if
Oh my
someone
gosh,
gets a
this is a
hole-in-one.
side
This is the
story.
year of hole-in-ones, though.
The Masons came on, and they
Okay.
have a golf outing. And so my husband and I golfed in it, and our friend who was the foursome ahead of us hit the hole-in-one, first hole-in-one ever. Harley was giving away a motorcycle on that hole.
I've heard about
And
this.
a trip. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's
Where was the
incredible.
trip to?
I don't even remember. I was so like, what? Like, you win this Harley? And how does one shoot a hole-in-one? I don't know.
But it's been happening this year, left and right. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
wonder
be
what you're giving
prepared.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so Main Street Coworking partnered with Clarkston Living magazine, and we're doing a $10,000 hole-in-one challenge.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah,
fantastic.
and I believe there's also a truck that can be won, or
Yes,
a car.
LaFontaine
Yeah.
is another hole-in-one sponsor. So,
Okay.
and it's Viva Las Vegas themed. So we have lots of games out there, and the weather's looking beautiful. I always joke it never rains on a golf course. It'll be beautiful weather no matter what. But we're really excited for that. We usually have about 100, 120 golfers, and it's just a fun time. Lots of families will come out. We have pictures of a few sponsor families that have done it from year to year and seen, kids that maybe were teenagers when they first started and now they're well after college, graduated and still
Awesome.
working in the community, so that's nice. And then our biggest event obviously is Taste of Clarkston. This year is the 25th annual, which we're really proud to be hosting, and that is a joint event with the city and also Independence Township. So anytime we can all partner together is very fun. We have a monthly committee meeting, and we're hoping to have at least 25 restaurants this year, which will be new and a little bit bigger than, especially during COVID. We had some lower years.
So Ann and I will be there with our Plinko board.
Yes.
We're very
That is
excited. But when is the deadline for restaurants and whoever's participating to get signed up for that?
That is sponsors and people just with booth spaces. We can work, well into September. I believe
Okay.
our date for restaurants is early September. I want to say maybe the 9th, whatever that first Friday is.
Okay.
And that just allows us time to check the menus. We get the menus before anyone else, which I always love because I get to map out what I'm going to eat during the day. But that's one of my favorite parts of my job, getting to see the menus. But then we submit that, and then everything goes to print. So we have a couple weeks left.
Okay.
This year it is on Sunday, October 1st, which is a little bit different rotation. But the city hosts Art in the Village a couple weeks before us, and we have just so much going on and so many vendors that will do multiple events that we decided we'll wait another week and see what's in store for us that way. But it's fallen on the first or second week in October here and there.
Yeah.
So, but we'll have tons of great restaurants out there, and we do have a couple food trucks, which will be something new and different. And then America's Corvette Club is going to have a Corvette show, which
Wow.
is something new for this
Okay.
year too. So,
And then is there parking at the high school for that? And then shuttles?
yes,
Okay.
yep, we'll have shuttles from the high school. I know people will park at St. Dan's Church and walk down too, but there will be shuttles at the schools that you can take and then you can join us on Main Street for a fun
You can
afternoon.
Sign up to volunteer anytime, right?
You know, Brandon,
Early morning
that is
setup.
a great thing to mention. So we do need volunteers all day long for Taste of Clarkston, but I always recommend taking the early shift, which is 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., which this guy is always there in the morning.
Go to bed early the night before, based on personal experience, going both ways there.
But the morning shift is, I always say, magical because we close down the streets. And when else can you do cartwheels on Main Street? Someone said, I can't do a cartwheel, Kendal. And I was like, you can dance, we'll do whatever. But it's just, the quiet before the storm, and you get to experience downtown when it's still, asleep.
So speaking of like shutting down Main Street, I had this idea and I had texted Ian about it, and I was like, Ian, I feel like for the Taste of Clarkston, right? I always feel like I'm saying it wrong. Like when they shut the street down, I think we have to talk to Kendal and see if we can organize a picture downtown of all the business owners to meet and do I have a sample picture of what I envision. So then I called Larry and I'm like, Larry, when do they shut down the road? But he said it happens at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's pretty early.
That seems
That's a
unlikely.
great
I think
idea,
I
though.
need the sunlight out. I don't know,
Yeah,
but somehow
we'll
I feel
be
like we
there.
should do that. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah, I
Maybe
do
at
like
the
that.
end, before they reopen it.
What are
Right.
the hours for
Oh,
it?
yeah.
So Taste of Clarkston, the event runs from 12 to 6, but we get there at 5 a.m. And start everything. But although all of the restaurants and businesses are cleared, it varies when the street opens back up. So usually 6:30, 7 o'clock or so. But Oakland County will give us the green light, and then that's when it opens. But there's definitely time at the end. So
Let's
I like
think
that.
about
idea.
that. I feel like everybody will be so tired and sweaty and over it, but
And your picture, your
we
example.
can rally.
People are jumping, so you do have to have some energy.
Okay. We'll have to
Save
bring
it-
in a second shift
save
of
a little
energetic
bit.
jumpers.
Yeah,
There you go.
or maybe even in the afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock, or
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
get creative though. I always
right.
tell anyone, if
All
you
right.
have an idea, bring it to us and we can at least see if it
Yeah.
logistically is possible. But it's such a special day, and I absolutely love it, and I love selling the 6 to 9 a.m. volunteer shift because it's the most important.
If people want to volunteer, do they just contact the chamber? Is that how that
Yes,
happens?
they can
Okay.
call our office, or we do have the event on our calendar, and there's a sign-up form that
Okay.
way.
Do they get a little food or drink ticket to help out or anything like that?
So depending on the time frame, but we do give out taste tickets as a reward, and then we also have pretty cool volunteer T-shirts as well that we hand out. So that's always nice. My parents actually celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary last year volunteering at Taste.
Very romantic.
Because, I was like, I need you both here that day. I'll buy you dinner, and it'll be from one of the
Yes.
fabulous restaurants, but I do need you here. So it's an all hands on deck. I get my family involved as much as possible, or our chamber members, such as
Yeah.
Brandon.
That's so great. I feel like you guys bring so much energy and youth into the business community, and it's just so refreshing.
That makes me super happy to hear.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Now thinking about that, how do you see everything looking, 5 to 10 years from now? What's the vision for businesses and just the lay of the land for Clarkston, and where are we going towards? What do you guys think?
I think Clarkston is, growing every day. I find all the time that people that I, went to college with that may or may not have referred to us as a sleepy little town, now they're moving here, or, they're enjoying our restaurants and visiting our businesses. So I just think, we can continue on growing, and I plan on being here for the next 5 to 10 years. But I think since COVID, people are really turning into their community, and they want to know who owns businesses in downtown, and they want to patron and support those businesses. You don't get the same thing supporting larger businesses, and we love business of all size, but I think having that community aspect is really what makes Clarkston special, and I don't think that's going to change.
When you're saying 5 to 10 years, and I know that's not a limit, you're just saying, are you one of the younger directors of any, are you the youngest ever?
So I don't know. I don't know for sure. I believe I am one of the youngest.
Because I think it's amazing, and if you do stick around for a long time, how lucky is Clarkston to have somebody that's very passionate and got a lot of
you.
years left.
I appreciate that. And a lot of
Yeah.
other chambers, you know, directors will stay for 10, 15, 20 years. And I have no plans on leaving. I have the best job in the world, and we get to have so much fun
Amazing.
at work. It doesn't really feel like work. But I do think I'm one of the youngest directors
Yeah.
in the history of our chamber and lots of other
Well,
chambers
and I
as
think
well.
too, you know, like how great of people like Brandon and other people that really pulled for you to move into this position, to just identify like what an asset you are and not, I don't know, get held up by an age or I don't know. So
I did have someone that really highlighted my youth as one of my assets, which is nice.
Okay.
I don't feel as youthful as maybe people think just because of my looks, but which I've heard my whole life. But there's so many young entrepreneurs in this community, and just even noting, you know, that we want you to bring your kids. If that means you can come to our event, we want to highlight that. We want to have your family be a part of it too, and I think, you know, that just works.
I think also I really like when you're saying, come to me with an idea, I'll see if I can make it work. You know, I love that. I love just thinking outside of the box and just making it work. I think a lot of times you hit roadblocks that there don't need to be roadblocks. So I
Definitely.
appreciate that that's, you know, your attitude as well.
Like we were talking about earlier, being flexible, and
Yeah.
this is kind of what younger generations have, that flexibility just inherently. You're not set in your ways yet, and
Yeah.
things are
Yeah.
like this. No, they get to be what you want them to be. And I did want to circle back to your music endeavor.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's called Wildseas. Like the co-working space, it's evolved a lot. It started as, we just called it after hours, and it was a different way to network and bring people together in a more casual atmosphere. And it really took off. Worked with Paul Angelini, who is one of our members at the co-working space, and Jackie Pappas, who's a local musician. And we kind of took it from a casual, unorganized backyard thing into a recurring, regular event. And now we sell tickets, and we've worked with dozens of musicians, and it's really turned into something special. And in the last year, it's grown quite a bit. So we've actually moved it over to the Honeycomb across the street, and excited to continue growing there.
And where is the Honeycomb?
The Honeycomb is
Such a
the
great
basement
question.
of Essence.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
really, really cool. They're open for all kinds of events.
How big is that space? I can't really picture it right now.
I'm not real good with like square footage, but
How many people,
Their
let's
their
say?
capacity, I believe, is around 40 people.
Okay.
So a nice increase from what we're doing in the co-working space. And the whole concept of working with local musicians, we ask them to play their original music. There's no covers. That's starting to gain a lot of popularity. We've hosted events at other locations, and it's fun. It's a different way to meet, you know, whether you're an attendee, meeting other people in the community, or all the musicians really are businesses unto themselves. They're entrepreneurs as well. So getting to know them and their support network has been really cool.
When Ann and I stepped in and talked with you, like, a month ago, I know you were saying, because I was confused as to where the music's happening, and you were saying it's more of a movement, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that keeps ringing, like, sticks in my head. I feel like a lot of what you're doing is a movement. I kind of feel like what's happening with you guys is a movement. Like, there's just, I don't know, like a lot of momentum behind it, and I think you can feel the energy. But I wanted to ask you too about your integrated life and the retreats.
Yeah. So I do like to think we're part of a movement as well. And I think around here it's a movement towards a way of life. You know, maybe it's not for everybody, but at a town like Clarkston, it's super family friendly. I think it promotes a good work-life balance. I think you can pursue your passions all in this area. And so integrated life was kind of born from that, and that other communities want to do that too, but maybe don't know where to start. And whether it's a co-working space or a chamber or, you know, a great coffee shop, you can find a place to kind of gather and be a hub of what we call an entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is really just people coming together, working together to create something more than they could on their own. And Clarkston, I think, is a very unique example of that. I've had the pleasure of being in several other chambers, and we've had other locations that haven't thrived like Clarkston. And I like to say we're only a member of one now, and it's Clarkston, and it's because of how special this community is and this chamber is. And so Integrated Life is about trying to help people replicate that in their own town in their own way. And this year we hosted our first, hopefully of many, unplugged retreats. It was at the Violasi Family Farm, which is a honey farm. We had a full day of speakers, presentations. We had yoga and sound healing. And then we had Joe Leo. He's Mr. Amigo Q online. He's a barbecue influencer. He prepared all our meals for the day. It was incredible.
Will he be at the Taste? Probably
Oh,
not.
that's a good question.
Okay.
He's not scheduled to be at Taste of Clarkston,
Well, I
but
could see it because
we might
he's
have
just privately like on social media, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
He's incredible.
He is incredible, and I know I
food's
keep
amazing.
like bringing him up.
Is he
Someday our
local?
paths are going to
Is he in
cross.
this area? or
I
no?
actually met him through the chamber. We were at
Oh, he's a chamber member?
networking events.
So he was
Okay.
before he went out and became a full-time
Okay.
barbecue
Yeah.
influencer.
All right.
That's a funny phrase, and
I,
it's
I love
It
to
is.
say that.
And so yeah, the retreat was a huge success, and we ended with a campfire, and we had s'mores because Beatrice Rivard from 360 Financial requested them. It's her hat on. I had to remember that. But we did campfire, s'mores, and music with Bill Arnold from One Ton Trolley, and it was a great day. It was a really cool chance for business owners, entrepreneurs to meet with each other in a totally different environment, very casual. There were some people going around barefoot, like it was just that kind of day.
Yeah.
I was barefoot most of the day.
So we look forward to doing that again, and we're hosting some more events along the way. That'll be the big one. But it was a lot of fun.
Where, if people want to learn more about your music, these events, where can they find that info?
Social media is going to be the most up to date. Also can check out our website, mainstreetmi.com or integratedlifeco.com. I try and get everything as updated as quick as possible on there, but I'm on social media every day trying to tell people what's going on or what's going on in the community as well. So good place
A
to
lot of
follow.
videos. You do a lot of good videos.
Well, I don't know about good, but I,
Yeah,
I
no,
put a lot of videos
No,
up there.
I do think. And when you were saying too, like how your business, it's worked well in Clarkston. I think for even what we're trying to do, like this couldn't work in a lot of communities.
Right.
But because of the small, kind of close-knit community, I think it lends itself to some different potential.
I think everybody's very collaborative minded here.
Yeah.
I haven't really run into anybody who said, no, I won't talk to you about some idea or
Yeah.
something we can do in the town, from the mayor and the city manager to residents and business owners.
When we had the mayor on, we were talking a lot about the values, like the common values of the city, and it's just keeping that small town charm, like respecting the history, but then also moving forward. Kind of all of that swirling together, and it's just a really cool combo. It allows for all these different things that are.
It's like a cool time for
happening.
Clarkston.
It is. It is very
Yeah.
exciting.
Happening.
When is your next music show? I want to get that on my radar.
It is September 28th, I think, if that's a Saturday. In my head, it's either the 28th or the 30th.
Well, it would be the 30th.
Okay,
Because
it's
the
September
Taste
30th.
Is the first.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going through
It's
my
Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
So
So
you're doing it the
September
night before?
30th.
Okay.
And that will be at the Honeycomb, and it's a band. It's the first time we've had a full band inside. We've worked with a couple at other places. Kind of like Southern Americana rock. Really cool. The guy's name is Matt Bastards, and he's from Pontiac. And we've had him solo playing acoustically before, and looking forward to having the whole band join us.
Nice. You guys must sell out in half a second.
Recently they have.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, just a credit to the musicians who work really hard to promote. They're on social media every day promoting everything they do and their quality. And then a desire I think people have to do something a little different and to be in a different place and kind of have that experience. So
The intimate setting is
Yeah,
really special.
it's very intimate. If people have been to 20 Front Street, similar idea. They have really blazed forward on this path of the listening room, and they're incredible. We like to think we maybe try and be like them a little bit. So.
Well, and Wiltsey's has helped the Chamber find a ton of awesome local musicians. Our last concert in the park a couple weeks ago was just local musician night, and actually all of those musicians have played in some capacity at Wiltsey's or at the Honeycomb,
Really?
and we wanted to feature that and have them bring their families and their local following to Depot Park.
Very cool.
What is the entertainment for Taste of Clarkston? Are there certain bands set up already?
So One Ton Trolley will be there. They headlined one of our concerts in the park series, and then we're still confirming some other local musicians, but Jackie Pappas will be there. She's played in years past and has worked on Wiltsey's, and then a couple others, but they're not for sure.
Okay.
But we'll have live music, and then we also will have a giant stilt walker for entertainment,
cool.
That's cool.
which is very fun. And then we also will have a caricature artist that will be able,
Nice.
you can get a family photo done for free. That's a sponsored event, and that's something new. We tried out last year, and we only had one artist, and there was a really long line. So this year
That's very
we're gonna
cool.
have 2 artists.
Yeah. Very cool.
Who's
Yeah.
sponsoring that? Is the Chamber sponsoring?
So Genesis Credit Union is sponsoring the
that's
caricature
super nice.
artists. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Very cool. Well, it's really fun to see how the Chamber is like directly working with local businesses, and not just you, obviously,
Yeah.
but it just is such a good collaborative environment. It makes us happy because that's our whole, connecting Clarkston is our whole
Yeah.
shtick here, and
Yeah.
it's just, it happens naturally. It already is happening. It's just really cool to have you guys in
Well, and even finding
Share
out
with
our
us.
connection
Oh,
today
yeah.
too.
in the dental world. Are we?
No, Larry.
Oh,
Yeah.
because you were
Dental
talking
world-
dentists
world too,
earlier.
but-
Yeah, and your
Yeah.
wife's a dentist. It's
Yeah.
like all the stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
Um,
what Clarkston's all about. You
yeah,
always see
exactly.
someone you know or you're connected with.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, we always like to ask our guests if they could recommend somebody who they think would be a good next guest for us on our podcast. And if you could think about someone who, would be interesting for us to sit down and chat with, let us know. Give us your...
You want to know right now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're holding you to it.
I
We're on
had
the air.
I had a
Yeah.
couple. You mentioned you've already Dr. Rhonda's already on your radar, but
Yeah.
Emma at Essence on Main.
Yes.
I think
was
that
my
store,
suggestion.
if there was a heart of downtown, I think
Yeah.
it's Essence. And then I also have the pleasure of working with Tanya Carson at Clarkston Living. And she does an amazing job making sure local businesses are represented there. And they would both be great to have on, I think.
I think the mayor had emailed us
Yes.
suggesting that we connect with her and also with you. So,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
And
Those are
Emma,
great
we have been in
suggestions.
contact with.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
nothing
stole
new,
yours?
sorry.
No, it's perfect.
So I also was gonna suggest Emma. Anytime I can talk about Essence on Main and
Yeah.
If you
everything
guys,
I do.
like, when you see her, just keep mentioning it. She's a little camera shy and not, like, super excited, but we're going to get there.
She actually spoke at our Women in Business event with her mom last year.
Okay.
And yeah, we got her out
Okay.
for that. But she would have been one of mine, and also I think Megan Long from Beyond Juice and Whitney Finley Shanae from Beyond Juice would be excellent. And Megan actually is opening up the Candle Bar downtown with her
Great
brother. So
suggestion. Okay.
Megan
When
and
I was
Matt
just
Long.
scrolling back through, like, chamber events, I see that Beyond Juice, like, provides the food or is there a lot. So that's very cool.
yes,
There's also a Main Street drink at Beyond Juice.
What's
It's
in this?
coffee, raspberry, and mocha.
Huh.
It's
Okay.
Did you
really
create
good.
this?
I worked with Megan to
Okay.
help create it.
Co-creator. I
Brandon
like
likes
that.
They're,
coffee.
they're
so.
called community creation. She does
Well,
them with a
because
few people.
yeah, they did have Clarkston high school students
Yeah,
had
yeah.
created 3, so
That's
I
right.
did go in and try them all and voted. Yeah,
Oh, very good.
I like
Now there's
it.
a new one.
Okay,
That was
all right.
Very
Gotta go back.
collaborative as well.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
Thank you. We definitely will start working on all of them. Get them lined up. But we appreciate you both coming in, and we will
Thank
see
you.
you
Thank
for
you.
sure at the Taste of Clarkston, if not before, because we'll be there. Come and stop by, play some Plinko with
Plinko,
us.
yes, win
Awesome.
prizes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
raffle
absolutely.
baskets.
Or volunteer with Brandon from 6
Oh,
to
yes,
9 a.m.
Yeah, yeah, I'll help
Oh,
set
man.
up your tent.
It's a deal. It's a deal. But yeah, thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
This podcast is brought to you by Independence Television, located inside Clarkston High School. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Independence Television, Independence Township, or Clarkston Community Schools.